So good afternoon and happy to be here and have this session with you where we'll talk about waste. I was, slightly disappointed through the morning because I think the conversations on waste have been not as uh, waste is a critical subject, and somewhere between water and energy in the net zero conversation, waste kind of takes a back seat. So thanks for having me here, because we get this session to, in a very dedicated manner, talk about waste. So the global economy. Okay, in the global economy, sometimes we forget what that number is. It's about $100 trillion here and there. And this is fueled largely by nature. So 50% or more, actually, the economy is run from nature. And when you look at the fact of the kind of materials that have been extracted from nature, here on here, just so that we can fuel our global economy, whether it is in construction, whether it is in textiles, whether it is food, whether it's metal that, drives all our industry. We talk about circular economy today, but I'm sure all of you in the room know that we are barely 7% circular. We talk about plastics. Use plastics, no problem. It can be recycled. It's a story that we've been hearing for the last 40 years, that plastics can be recycled. So that's the reason why really waste, zero waste, needs to come up far, far more in this critical conversations that we have, through the year. So Sahas Zero Waste, we've had a fairly large, or rather a long journey of about 11 years. And, we are very focused on the fact that we have such good regulations across the world, but even more so in India. The regulations have been in India for the last 20 years, 2020 years plus. 2001, we had the first set of municipal solid waste rules, 2016, and then now the 2024 rules all talk about zero waste to landfill. They all talk about responsibility of waste generators. They talk about the fact that we should be actually processing the waste. Remove that word garbage, which is really a hateful word. Remove the word disposal. Look at waste coming back, closing the loop, and actually building a circular economy. So in that context, the mindset of an organization like Sahas Zero Waste was to actually offer services, make it easier for people to actually implement the rules. Today, we are an organization which is 400 plus people, and that's why we say nature, people, and technology. We work with nature, people, and technology to offer services that are compliant with the waste management rules, that are compliant with all our environmental as well as the social aspects of the service offering. We now manage about 100 and plus tons per day. We work largely with bulk generators. Our services, and this is the kind of vertical that I would like to focus on. It's the zero waste vertical, where we work a lot with bulk waste generators, the large campuses, educational institutions, residential complexes, all of them, to put attention to all kinds of waste, because we know that waste today is so diverse. You do have a wet waste fraction, you do have a dry waste fraction, which has got 30 different types of waste. Then you have the C&D waste, electronic waste, sanitary waste, and in our service offering, we've actually been able to integrate and manage and support uh, any one of our customers to actually be compliant to all of these different types of waste that is generated. I'll just quickly take you through this because, yeah. Now, what we're looking at is actually in the last, when we talk of LEED certified buildings, the unfortunate thing is that waste management gets such a small percentage of the weightage, 5, I think it is. So therefore, what we see, buildings very happy to show off their energy, and that's not bad. But when it comes to waste, the only infrastructure that you see really is a wet waste bin and a dry waste bin, and then you'll get that tick and that 5 marks, and all is good. I'm wondering why we have such poor commitment to waste. And I really have to say this because, we've been in this space for such a long time. And if you look at even even a city like Bangalore, which has 40% of its waste coming from bulk generators, coming from the large tech parks, whether you look at the Whitefield area, whether you look at the Outer Ring Road, all of them, these large tech parks. And yet, when I have to present a case study, I have a case study, luckily, but this is one of the few and far between tech parks that are actually zero waste. And that is Brookfields. I'm so happy. I was really happy to see Gigi in the room this morning. Gigi Thomas, who was with RMZ in 2000 and I think it was 13, 14 or so. When we were talking, and the system is the same today. It's just a disposal system. Because when you talk about waste management and processing, you look at the fact that there is, X amount of tons of wet waste generated, which needs processing, which can happen on site. And then you have the different types of dry waste, which need to go through, various levels of sorting until you can actually make sure it goes to an authorized recycler for proper processing and recycling. But coming back to what we have now, and I'm very grateful to GBCI, who have understood beyond the LEED certified buildings that they needed a certification for waste. And that's what we got in terms of TRUE. So TRUE is the certification which actually allows companies, whoever is managing a certain entity, to track and trace their waste, beginning with reduce, beginning with the fact that, paper cups, all those one-time use paper cups, plastic cups, whatever, the single-use items should not be part of our system anymore because it really takes up so much of resources. We looked at the kind of materials that are used to fuel our economy. So beginning with reduce, then looking at putting in place facilities within the area where the waste is generated. Because today you have a tech park of, large spaces, and then suddenly there is no space for waste except for one little room where your black bags will go. So TRUE is a certification that we now appreciate, and RMZ was the first tech park that was actually recognized for their very holistic waste management system. Today, RMZ is a Brookfields property. It has about 10 buildings. So each of those buildings have a space where the wet waste comes in, gets composted. I was really happy to hear from Sunita that the 24-hour composter should not be part of our system because it's not composting. But RMZ, in some of its facilities, or rather Brookfields, has a proper composting system, which is not adequate. So therefore, we also send part of that waste to a off-site bio-CNG facility, which is, luckily in Bangalore, we do have these kind of off-site facilities. But each of, RMZ generates about, or rather this Ecoworld facility generates about 10 tons of waste per day. And there are 16,000 people working in this complex, which is, so well equipped. Each building has a little space. The dry waste comes into this space. We have about 40 people working in this facility across the 10 buildings. Every building has a room. And that is the kind of infrastructure that you need. And that is the kind of workforce that you need. Because without this kind of workforce, your facility people are not going to do that level of requirement to manage, the first levels of cleaning that you need in order for the waste to actually be recovered and resources recovered. So this 10 tons of waste, part of it, 50% of it is wet waste, gets composted or goes to biogas. And the other part of it, the dry waste is first cleaned and sorted here and then goes to our own material recovery facility. So this is also now part of the infrastructure that an organization like us needs. We've got a very formal material recovery facility, which has got 10,000 square feet. We have about 30 people working there. It is IMS certified. So really, we've put in a lot of credentials, a lot of effort as an organization to put things in place so that so that people who generate waste, including the corporate sector, can have services and be compliant. Yeah, now, I mean, one of the biggest problems that we have really is that people don't want to pay for waste management services. And again, I was very happy to hear from you, sir, about the ROE versus the ROI. Unfortunately, in reality, it does not work. I think if people in the room were to just ask themselves, and if there was, some honesty, we would know that ROE is just not working for the corporate sector or for people who generate waste, even educational institutions. Yeah, so whether it is, or even apartment complexes. Today you have, in India, we have very high-end villa complexes, apartment complexes. Look at the kind of hospitality sector that we have, the five-star hotels, including this one. And let's take a look at what happens to dry waste. It all goes to places where there is a lot of difficulties in managing that quantities of waste. And if we have a large informal sector today, it's nothing that we can really be proud of because we have fueled that informal sector, because we have refused to believe that we are responsible for people not getting minimum wages just because we want to be profitable in our own businesses. So today we have people, the informal sector, working under very challenging conditions. And we would be easily able to take them over to the next level if only we paid, for what we have generated. I can tell you that RMZ and Ecoworld comes at a monthly cost of 15 to 18 lakhs. And then all of you will say, no, that doesn't work. Because I pay a small fraction of that. At what cost? At what cost do we have such inequality in our country where 10% of people, 10% or rather 70% of the wealth is with 10% of us? And we're willing to come to sessions like this and be very happy and talk about net zero. But the reality on the ground is completely different. And I would request that we really think about this. And I would like to go away from this session hoping that many of you will get back, look at what happens to your waste, look at how the exploitation of the informal sector happens, look at why we can't pay people more than minimum wages. In our organization today, we are struggling with, minimum wages in Karnataka is about 18,000 rupees. We've got 2 customers who have told us very nicely, it's too less. We want to pay we want to pay living wages. And they have offered voluntarily to pay 29,000 skilled for our workers who they recognize as skilled. two out of the many, many customers that we have. I'd really urge you all to please look within. I'd really like to get some calls from some of you at the end of this session who would want to give space for their waste, who would want to put in place operations which are compliant, traceable, trackable, because we are an IMS certified organization. We can give you tracking, tracing. We can make you fully compliant. All we need is you as a customer to do what it takes to go to your procurement people, to tell them that it is not correct, that they don't have green policies anymore, and to engage with organizations like us. And I can tell you that there are many more startups across the country who also want to work like us, but they cannot, because if they were to kind of have those kind of costs that we have, they would also go under. So they take the easy route. And it is us who then force even our young people, our young startups to do wrong things. So just to come back to the certification process of True Zero, it starts with data. It goes into making sure that there is infrastructure in place, then operations, and then tracking, tracing, and then certification. So today, I think we just have about 3 or 4 kind of entities, large entities that are certified for True Zero. And the rest are happy with LEED, with 5 marks, and that is it. I'm sorry, I am being, should I use the word brutal? Maybe. But I want to bring this out to you because this is the reality check of waste management. And today we have a Qutub Minar, which is in Delhi, that huge tower of waste which is burning and which all of us have to breathe. Let's take that reality check. We have it in Bangalore. Our quarries are being used to dump waste. We have it in Mumbai, in Deonar. Come back to holistic waste management services. This is the kind of benefit that we can get. And is this not a benefit that we should kind of sign up for, whatever the costs may be? Because otherwise, we deserve the air quality that we get. We deserve to have the 21st century Qutub Minar in the form of a Ghaziapur or a Deonar. I'm really grateful for customers like Tesco who pay us the 29,000 for our field staff. I'm really grateful to Brookfield who has given us this case study so that we can put out to you. Goldman Sachs, another customer that pays 29,000, doesn't do anything to their profitability, but I can speak about them very proudly, and I hope that will make a difference to their brand value. Okay, so that's me. I'm happy to engage with you. I'm happy to have, my colleague Kritika is sitting here. She's our business development person. And I really hope that at the end of this, we will have some more case studies for the next session that we will attend. Thank you so much. I don't mind taking some questions. I think I have some time, maybe 2 questions or 3 questions, because I try to, keep my presentation short so that I could have some engagement as well in the form of questions. So anyone has any questions? Yeah.
What are you seeing from the government?
From the government? Yes, I see the government done its job. It's given us policies. It said that every building has to have 5% infrastructure for waste, 5% of the total waste, 2016 rules, 5% has to be allocated for waste management. Tell me anyone who has put 5% space for waste management.
And then the BBMPs of this world,
yeah, so the municipal solid waste rule says that bulk generators have to manage their own waste. And that's the reason why we have come in here as private limited, invested companies invested our resources so that we can offer services. So I'm saying that 40% of a city's waste comes from bulk generators. It is our responsibility not to give our waste to the BBMP. It is our responsibility to put, whether it's bio-CNG, composting, all of that infrastructure within our complexes and also put the operational costs for it. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think there's one question at the back. Can I take that? Yeah. Okay, last question. Yeah.
I think it's very easy to say that the government has policies, but we don't know how best policies work in the countries, right? Unless there's follow for the policies, unless there's implementation, unless there's penalization, it will not happen. So private sector has no motivation in most cases to actually deal with the waste, allocate the area, manage the waste, and stuff like that.
I can take this question offline. I am saying that the responsibility, you have the space, you have organizations like us, there is technologies, so there is no reason why we have to depend on a BBMP's inefficient services, if that's what we want to call out. You don't need a BBMP. You need, then there are many organizations, we are all empaneled. I mean, there's an empanelment process which is right now stuck, but we are all there on the BBMP website. I'll be more than happy to talk to you out of this session. Thank you so much.
Be a roundtable at the end of these sessions today. At that point, we'll be able to.